Music is so healing, yes? It's that universal language, the vibration that can heal sometimes beyond words that we comprehend, right? I remember the experience of being moved by that song. Laura Berman, who wrote this song, sang it at one of our CSL, Centers for Spiritual Living, conventions. And it was palpable, right? And ever since then, I was like, all right, Heather, you have to sing this at Ahava. And she sang it was like a year ago or so, but you had a cold, you weren't feeling the best, and I was like, we have to redo this. Yeah. You did. So we're like, we're going to do that again when you're feeling better. Yeah. So we are kicking off a new month. I want to say first, Happy Lunar New Year, Year of the Snake. Happy Black History Month. I believe it's also Groundhog Day. So a lot's going on today, y'all. He saw a shadow, so that means more winter. Just what I was hoping for. All right, well, let's get into our topic. The theme for this month is radical interconnection, and we will be following the book by Thich Nhat Hanh, The Art of Living. And we have a book study after service today. Even if you didn't sign up, feel free to stick around, and grateful to dive into this material a little bit more. So I invite you to explore with me this powerful truth that we are all interconnected. We say these things like we are one and we value oneness. But what does that really mean? And how easily do we remember or forget in our moment-to-moment interactions with life? But we come together in places like this to remember and to be reminded of this truth and kind of hit that reset button for our week, right? So when we remember to recognize this deep, invisible thread that binds us, this one presence, this one life that is living and moving and experiencing itself through all beings, it opens the door to compassion and empathy and understanding, and to that healing, transformative energy of love itself. Not just for ourselves, but for all beings, including our beloved Mother Earth. So Thich Nhat Hanh popularized this concept of interbeing, and he says that we all are inter-are. And so it reveals this profound interconnection between all things in the universe. And by letting go of the illusion of separation, we can begin to align with that energy of love that connects us all, that unity. And that's where the healing and the transformation begins. But what I often hear is like, okay, I can get this conceptually, right? Like I can even experience it perhaps when I am sitting with a beautiful flower like that reading spoke of, or looking at the stars or the beautiful mountains with a beloved. I can look in their eyes and see the whole universe. But I'm not so sure, this is what I often hear, right? I'm not so sure that I can feel the oneness with certain political leaders. And I get it. And that is our opportunity. Our opportunity to express and open to the love that is that infinite presence within us, and to see that in every being, in every beloved. Now, there are people in this world that are saying and doing things that may be very antithetical to the very values of love and peace and wholeness and equity. And when we focus on our energy on that which we are against, or even what I'm noticing now, the tendency to put it all on one person, our president, we are missing the mark. Because it's easy to hate a person. But that's just a symptom, right? Trump was elected as our president by people and the majority. So the invitation is to go deeper and to look at what is being called to heal, what is being revealed in order to heal and transform, in order to know ourselves and each other as love, as whole, as perfect and complete, just as we are. To move into the idea of oneness, we have to move beyond separation and othering, right? It's easy to feel this when we are in community of like mind. But what if and how can we perhaps expand our heart into holding space for all? And sometimes this might invite us, as we often say, to turn within. And where within us can we heal the part of us that may feel better than another or less than another? How can we turn within and look at what is seeking to be healed on the global collective level? And do our part in remembering that we are one, that we are love in action, and then move into action. Not just think about it and talk about it, but what is one simple thing we can do to express that which we value, such as kindness and love and compassion. But as long as we hold on to the idea that we are separate from one another and the world around us, we live in a state of limitation and a state of powerlessness. Our true power lives within. There is no thing out there that has power over us when we remain steadfast and grounded in the truth of our infinite nature. And to let that lead the way to the healing of our planet and humanity. The divine is omnipresent, meaning it's everywhere in all things, all throughout space-time. Everything is interconnected, and we are always learning and growing and experiencing the world through this law of cause and effect. And so, therefore, every thought and action, every interaction creates the bigger picture that we call the collective consciousness. And when we start to see through the lens of oneness, when we start to notice how the law of cause and effect is showing up in our life, it becomes clear that we are not isolated beings living in a vacuum, that our energy, our words, our thoughts, our intention makes an impact. It's that beautiful imagery of a stone being cast in a body of water and the ripples it makes. We are part of a grand interwoven tapestry. Thich Nhat Hanh beautifully puts it this way: the whole planet is one giant living, breathing cell with all its parts linked in symbiosis. Symbiosis? Something like that. Our existence, our actions, our energy all have an impact on the collective, on the whole. And this isn't something to beat ourselves up about. We are human. We move through various emotions, and that's okay. We must feel our feelings with what's occurring. It's okay to be angry, to be sad, to allow those things to come up. And that's why we do things like holding circle and having ritual and moving our body and drumming and singing and chanting and connecting and prayer. Those are ways to move the energy so then we can steep in the mindfulness practice of just being in the now and being open to receive the highest vibration of life itself wanting to express through us now so that we can be of the greatest impact of the world and to continue to hold the vision that we desire for ourselves and the world and the planet and humanity and ask day by day, moment by moment, what is mine to do? Remembering that we make an impact. We are connected with all. So sometimes we may feel this when something happens on the collective. We may feel it, and without even knowing something occurred on the other side of the world that impacted many, many people. But we can feel it in our body because we are one. So the same way, we can begin to be intentional about our energy, where our thoughts are, what we are focusing on, so we can begin to elevate the vibration of this beautiful planet for all of humanity. Acts of kindness and love help us remember this truth when there are so many that perhaps have never even had the opportunity to know true love. And I'm not talking about true love like romantically, but like, right, this divine love that is healing, this love that embraces us because it is who we are, this love that doesn't judge us or say, you're good or you did this, so now you are loved. This love that is inherent to who we are. When we remember that and practice that ourselves, and when we get to express that with others, we add more of that energy and vibration to this collective soup that we are swimming in called humanity. And the more we do that, there will be a tipping point into where that becomes the vibration that is outpictured in our world, in our current events. Right now, we are seeing all the mess that we, even in our personal level, right? There's some stuff we often experience in life that we may have blocked out or locked down in our subconscious mind. And what we're seeing right now is it's like, it's all been revealed on a collective level. The lack, the greed, the power over, the separation, the doubt, the fear. We're seeing it. And as I said last week, what is it that we are being called to do? We are being called to observe, but not be absorbed. To notice that and say, oh no, that is not the highest vibration, and that is not the world that I know to be true or seek to experience. And so therefore, I am going to walk on this planet as even more love and vibration. I'm going to turn to my community and see, how can I serve? I'm going to reach out, make that phone call. Get in action, move into service. It is so healing. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, because in fact, what you do unto others will be done unto you, because we are one. And that's not like, a threat. It's just a fact. So it's like, oh yeah, I should pay attention. I should be aware. Where are my thoughts? What am I energizing? We're not just connected to one another, but we are connected to Mother Earth herself. The same minerals in our body are in the soil. And so as we began to become more self-aware, self-realization, self-actualization, we start to begin to realize our nature is nature. We are Earth. We are the cosmos embodied. And then this can start to shift our perspective and our actions towards our Mother Earth and other beings when we live from this realization of oneness. When we know that we are one and connected with all, we don't do things trying to get our good or what's best for us. We have a bigger perspective and notice how our actions might impact others and choose from that place. I had a palpable experience of this a number of years ago in Hawaii. And we went to a black sand beach on the island of the Big Island. It was like Hawaii is the Big Island and kind of near Hilo. There's this black sand beach, and the black sand is so dense it's almost like soil. If you've never experienced a black sand beach, and so I buried myself in the sand, and as I was under the weight of this black sand, this like soil-like substance, but it wasn't as, messy as dirt. It was still that fine, grainy sand, but this heaviness. And I was laying there. I started to feel a pulse. And, it's one of those things that my mind is kind of going back and forth, like, is this real? What is this? Like, is it a drum? Is it, so that, I'm jumping in and out of the experience of trying to say, like, what is this? And then part of me just surrendered. It was like I felt a heartbeat of Mother Earth herself. And that moment has stuck with me. So when we're hearing more about these days, people talking about Mother Earth as a being herself, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I felt that heartbeat of Mother Earth. And that moment really, was kind of in my awareness and values before that, but it really was a moment of remembering that my actions towards this planet and towards all beings have an impact, and to be more mindful that this world out there isn't just something to be used and disposed of, it's something to be honored and revered. This recognition of our oneness invites us into a new way of being, one that doesn't just ask us to think differently, but to act differently when we realize that we are making an impact, so that we can positively contribute to the world around us. And this is where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness isn't just about being present, it's about engaging in life, even the difficult parts of it. Ernest Holmes is the founder of the Science of Mind teaching. That is our primary teaching here. And he reminds us that it's not enough to just meditate or pray in isolation, but that our spirituality must find an expression. He says, the practical values of spiritual perception remain latent until objectified. So basically, these values kind of are latent, have no really meaning unless you are actually putting them into practice, doing something, showing the world. We're doing some work right now in the advanced consciousness studies around what our values are, and really looking at our life and does it a match, and how we can get in more integrity with our values. So the goal is not just to be like, oh yeah, these are my values. It's to live your life such that others could come up to you and say, I see that you value this, that, and the other, because your life is such a demonstration of that, right? And here's the thing, we live in a world full of distractions. There is so much information coming to us now more than ever through social media, through technology. We are plugged in and connected, and we are aware of things happening in neighborhoods and communities all over the world at any point. And it's an endless source of information. And I was thinking the other day about the impact this is having on my life and on the greater whole. Because some of you may remember, I'm old enough to remember, when we first joined Facebook, you could get to the end of a feed, right? You could log on, and it was almost like, I go on, I check my emails, clear my inbox, I listen to my phone message, and you could go to the end of the feed, and then it'll be like, that's all for now. That doesn't happen anymore, y'all. We are inundated with infinite stories and reels and pictures across many platforms, and what I've started to notice is it can create a new form of bypassing. So we talk about spiritual bypassing, going into meditation and prayer, but not actually paying attention to what's out there and just saying, it's all good, I'm just going to stay in meditation. And that's where we say, right, you can't really be of any earthly good when you're just in that place. So that's spiritual bypassing, is just going right to the it's all good and not acknowledging the realness of our experience. Well, I'm going to wrap it up because we're getting into time, but I just wrote a blog on this and I haven't published it yet, so more to come. But I was contemplating this idea about how social media and all this constant information can help, can be a type of bypassing, where we can feel, as we are reposting reels and memes of justice and activism and inspiration, that we are actually doing something, but really we are sitting, our body is not moving, our mind may be very filled, and we may feel like we are contributing in some way, but yet we are still experiencing anxiety and depression and isolation and loneliness, because what we are made to do in these human bodies is to be with each other, to interact, to share words of compassion and hope and love, to see and be seen and to show up and be that reflection of one another. And it's easy to just sit at home and post stuff and feel really righteous and get really worked up, and then you have nothing to do with that energy except maybe self-soothe in some way. Some turn to habits that are not so healthy. Or we could get out and move our bodies and do something. But yet we get stuck and think, or we get overwhelmed by all the content that we then are exhausted and don't even have the energy to actually do something about it. And it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, creating more anxiety and depression of laying around, consuming information, feeling such a way about it, not knowing what to do about it, sleep, repeat, right? More to come on that. But mindfulness is the key. Through mindfulness, we can start to practice being fully present in the moment, sitting with our discomfort instead of going to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing to feel better, get that dopamine hit. Sit in the practice of noticing. Right now, I am feeling. I notice these sensations in my body, a swirling of energy, a pounding in my heart, a tightening in my shoulders. Notice our thoughts. I'm thinking about the same story over and over and over, thinking about, I could have, should have, would have said this or done that. I'm replaying the stories of the news that I saw over and over and over. And each time it produces a chemical reaction in my body that brings out a feeling of fear or anxiety or hope or joy. Who knows? Mindfulness allows us to come back to the moment, to not detach from this experience, but actually begin to live our life in community, in connection, showing up, and creating the world we wish to see by actively engaging in our life, moment by moment. So this week, I invite you to consider a few practices, simple practices, to help you integrate this. Start your day with 3 to 5 minutes of breathing. We all breathe. We have to breathe. Breath is life. But as we breathe more intentionally, we become more present. And this gives more life. Breath itself is life. So this practice, based on Thich Nhat Hanh and the Buddhist teaching, is to simply breathe in and say to yourself, breathing in, I know I am alive. Breathing out, I know I am alive. And then focus on your breath. Allowing any distractions to fade away. Breathing in, I know that I'm alive. Breathing out, I know that I am alive. So that's your first practice. Starting the day with a few moments of this mindful breath. Breathing in, I know that I'm alive. And then find a moment. You can define the moment. A minute, an hour, hours. Find a moment during your day without any external stimuli. No phone, no internet, no music, no TV, no reading, no playing with your dog. Simply sitting and observing. Just noticing the world around you. And get in touch with your senses. A simple mindfulness practice, right, is just to go through your senses. Right now I am seeing. Right now I'm smelling, taste. Notice the texture where you may be touching. And the more you practice this, using your 5 senses, you may open up to that 6th sense as well. And be present to what is wanting to be revealed to you and through you. Mindful breathing to start our day. A moment, you define how long of no stimuli. And number 3, engage with others deeply. Whether it be a Zoom call, a phone call, or in person, or simply a brief encounter with someone, take a moment and truly be with another, to see them, and reflect on how you are with them in that moment, for we are one, yes? Mindfulness and interbeing are not just abstract concepts, they are tools for creating real, tangible change, and they remind us that when one person suffers, the whole world suffers. But when we uplift ourselves, we can uplift others. So let's take that first step today, because the world is waiting for us to wake up, step up, and make a difference, acting mindfully with intention and compassion and love. Yes? All right, let's take this into prayer. So grateful to be here now, to allow the breath to bring us into this now present moment and remember that we are alive. We are alive this day and this time because on some level we have made an agreement to be here now, to show up for this exact moment of time. What an exciting premise to know that we are always at choice and we are consciously co-creating this world that we see. So we take this moment now to recognize the one life that is love, that is freedom, that is creativity, that is wholeness, and to remember this is who I am. Stardust, the very minerals and essence of all of life in the universe is within me. This love is expressing itself in, as, and through me. So I know right here, right now, that I remain awake and aware. of my inherent power and purpose to choose love and joy and freedom, moment by moment, to show up fully, activating this thing called life, the very source back of all things, to engage with this law from a conscious place, to speak my intention and know that it ripples out, creating a tipping point for humanity, one in which we collectively choose to remember our oneness and our wholeness, to see the love embodied in all beings, in all of nature, and to remember that everything is either love or a call for love. So how can we show up today as love? Raising the vibration through our own interbeingness, remembering who we are, walking in this world as wholeness, as love, as joy, as freedom, and expressing this wholeheartedly, always asking, what is mine to do? What would love do now? Who am I to be in this moment of space-time? What am I becoming? Love is the healer. So grateful to know that a healing is happening now as I say yes, knowing that transformation is occurring. And I release this word with great gratitude into the action of the law that always says, yes, my beloved, knowing it is done and it is so. And together we say, and so it is. Yes.